Do you never wonder if we're worth saving? The human race.
Yes. I think we're worth saving. Wars and all.
That's a really interesting topic for conversation. Is the human race really worth saving? Hello everybody, my name is Kevin, I am a geek, you are watching Kevin the Geek, and welcome back to the channel for this, another Torchwood Tuesday episode. This is Season 2, Episode 3, To the Last Man. Don't forget to check out all of my other Doctor Who and Torchwood related content, amongst lots of other stuff. But today we're doing a review of this episode, and this is one I always think back to very fondly. I really love this episode. My biggest flaw, I think, with this episode is that it really brings into sharp focus how criminally underused the character of Toshiko really is. I love Toshiko. She is definitely one of my favourite characters of the main kind of core group of Torchwood. And in this episode, she was phenomenal. And Naoko Mori, who played Toshiko, was fantastic. And I tell you what, Anthony Lewis, who played Tommy, he was fantastic as well. And I cannot believe it has literally taken me all of this time, nearly 15 years after the episode first aired, that I realised that Anthony Lewis, who plays him, is the older brother of Matthew Lewis, who played Neville Longbottom in the Harry Potter movies. I should have guessed that because, you know, they both have such a kind of, you know, Leeds accent to the pair of them. And they both look so similar to each other. And I cannot believe that I never took this before. But Tommy as a character was fantastic. Now, when you think about this story, it is kind of similar to the episode 12 of Series 1, Captain Jack Harkness. The fact that you've got kind of people out of time. In that particular one, it was Toshiko and Jack who ended up in the past. This one, they do a little bit of a twist on it, and they have Tommy, who gets basically cryogenically frozen and woken up once a year, because one day they're going to need him. And it prompted some very interesting dialogues, because obviously every year for Tommy was literally a single day. When he is talking about being woken up, and in particular that they're talking about the ending of the First World War.
Seems like there's always a war somewhere.
It's not exactly a war.
Looks like one. First year they woke me up. 1919. Told me it was all over. We won. The war to end all wars, they said. And then 3 weeks later, you had the Second World War. After all that.
I mean, that's got to be the weirdest thing, to think that effectively 3 weeks, in Tommy's perspective, after the end of the First World War, or the Great War as he knew it, the fact that there's then suddenly a second one. He's got barely any time to adjust. And that's maybe one slight flaw I may give the episode, because they make a big deal about the whole shell-shocked nature of Tommy, that he was fighting in this war and obviously he was seeing all this stuff. Still, for him, you've got to remember that this is only, for him, a couple of weeks. And I think it would have been interesting to see some nature of that. I mean, they did kind of do it towards the end of the episode, obviously when he goes back into the past and he becomes Tommy as he was. But other than that, you know, there wasn't a great sense of that. But I love this sort of anti-war sentiment that they had in this episode, because that's the other thing that Tommy has to deal with. You know, he says it in the episode that it feels like there's always a war on somewhere. And when you think about it, you know, the kind of wars that probably had happened in this sort of 90-ish year period, you know, so for him, basically 3 months, you know, you would have had things like, obviously, the First and Second World War. You would have had the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the kind of Cold War, the Iraq War, so many different things. And obviously, had it continued on, it would have had, like, for example, the Russian-Ukraine conflict. And, you know, it does a really good job of discussing war in general. And I mean, ultimately, literally, what is the point of war? You know, because it always ends up in the exact same way. You know, you have basically one person who's not happy with something. They manage to rile up enough people, and it convinces them to take up arms. And at what point are people just going to finally realise that war literally solves nothing? As Peter Capaldi, as the Doctor, once very famously said,
how much blood will spill until everybody does what they were always going to have to do from the very beginning? Sit down and talk!
But I felt that the question that Tommy asked Toshiko was a very interesting and thought-provoking question. Is the human race worth saving? Now, Toshiko, she very quickly says, yes, the human race is worth saving. And sometimes you look at things like that and you go, are we really? And you think of some stuff like racism and prejudice of any kind, or global warming and what we're doing to the planet. Is the human race actually bad for this planet? You know, and have we got to a point where we've maybe got a higher level of thinking that we're maybe getting to the point that we're too advanced, really, and so maybe that we have kind of gone past the limits? I don't know. It's an interesting question. You know, if Tommy had asked you that question, what would be your gut reaction? Put your comments down below. You know, there is good aspects to humanity, and there unfortunately are bad things. So I think you could ask me that question on any day of the week, and I could probably flip a coin, and on that particular day I could say, yes, we're worth saving. On another day I say, no, we're not worth saving. So I like that. I like having these interesting debates. But going back to the episode as a whole, Toshiko is just fantastic. And like I said, yeah, I think she really is criminally underused. And I like the fact that Owen is the one who speaks to her. Because she's kind of basically fallen head over heels for Tommy. And you could say that it's a little bit too soon, because effectively she's only known him for, you know, effectively 4 days. But Owen's words are really, really poignant. And that kind of reflects back to his interactions with Diane in the episode Out of Time. And I love it when he says to Tosh,
just be careful.
What do you mean?
You're very close to Tommy.
I've only known him for 4 days.
Yeah. You've fallen for him, haven't you?
I can be myself with him. Don't have to pretend.
No, I understand. I didn't think you had some weird fetish for defrosted men. I just, don't want you to get hurt. That's all. If you have to say goodbye.
I don't think that anyone else realistically would be the right person to say something to. You could argue maybe Jack, because obviously he's a little bit out of time himself, and obviously he sees things in a different way. But I don't think that Jack would have said the right words to Shiko. Owen does, though. And like I said, for him, that's coming from a place of his own pain. You know, he had to deal with the loss of Diane. And Toshiko was in real danger of falling into the same traps that Owen did. And I think it was handled really, really well. The rest of the episode, I quite like that they tried to make it quite creepy with all the stuff in the hospital. But fundamentally, this wasn't an episode about the rift and, you know, ghosts or anything like that. It was about dealing with human emotions. And that is what Torchwood, when it's at its finest, is so good at doing. And straight away, 3 episodes in to season 2, it has done so much better than season 1. And it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. Yes, there's a couple of dud episodes in the series, like you have with anything. But season 2, I think, is arguably one of the best series of Torchwood in terms of a more kind of episode of the week kind of structure. Of course, I will speak about Children of Earth and Miracle Day a little bit further down the line. But for today, that's going to do my review of To the Last Man, Season 2, Episode 3 of Torchwood. What did you think? Drop your comments down below. Coming up tomorrow on the channel, it is Doctor Who Wednesday, and we are beginning Season 4. It is going to be my review for Partners in Crime, the reintroduction of Donna Noble. I cannot wait to dissect that episode. Until next time, my name's Kevin, I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.